I'd like to appreciate you all for joining us. And while we expect others to join us, we will kickstart today's session. Today's session is organized or has been organized by my pharmacy, the one-stop resource center for community pharmacies across Nigeria. And in a bid to empower community pharmacies across Nigeria to be more profitable and sustainable in their businesses, we organize a series of webinars to empower them to be able to actualize this. And today we shall be considering a very critical aspect of business. How can businesses thrive despite the dysfunctional economy in which they usually find themselves? And for us in Nigeria, it's it's a critical situation for us. Therefore, I'd like to appreciate all of the pharmacy owners and pharmacy managers, and in fact, community pharmacists who have registered for today's webinar and have shown up this afternoon. Before we go further, I would like to introduce the operations manager of my pharmacy, Pharmacist Yewande Adekoya. And she and her team are the brain box, so to speak, behind the My Pharmacy brand across Nigeria. I'd like to ask her to share a few words with us, and of course, sharing what exactly we do at My Pharmacy so that you can all understand how we help community pharmacists do better in their.
Thank you very much, Taiwo. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me. My name is Yewande Adekoya. I'm Operations Manager at Advantage Health Africa, and I would like to especially welcome you for today's edition. Thank you for always investing in yourself. Thank you for always yielding the call of growth. My pharmacy health services is your one-stop resource center for community pharmacy. And the reason why we do this that we do is so that we are able to give the community pharmacy owners, the community pharmacists, or community pharmacy managers access to scale, access to market, and access also to empowerment. And this is one of the ways that we do this. And we are definitely applauding everybody that have come here today to be able to know better so that they can do better. In my pharmacy, we have different array of services. We have services from management solution. We have our management solutions. We have our franchise services. We also have package services that people say, oh, I want you to come in and do this and do that for my pharmacy. You know, if you want your pharmacy to grow, if you want your pharmacy to scale, if you want your pharmacy, your staff, you know, to be well accelerated and more productive, if you want consultancy services, how to start, how to run, process review, all of these things are things that we do. If you want recruitment for your pharmacy, these are things that we do in my pharmacy and much more. That is why we are your one-stop resource for community pharmacies. So once again, I welcome every one of you for this to this webinar, and I am very sure that today is going to be another game changer for us, where we are going to learn how to scale our businesses, where we are going to learn how to do better than what we have done, how to ensure that we run a thriving business in a dysfunctional economy like Nigeria, and also how to leverage on opportunities that is presenting themselves in our very before in community pharmacy. Our speaker today, thank you for joining us. Thank you for yielding the call to facilitate this session. And I am very excited about this session and all that we are going to be learning. So thank you very much. I'll leave the floor now to Taiwo to introduce the speaker. Have a great and amazing webinar. Bye.
All right, thank you very much, Yewande. So before we go straight into today's session, I'd like the participants to share what they look forward to learning in today's session. I know that during the registration, some of you shared your questions, we got your questions, and of course, we hope that our facilitator will attend to all of your questions and even beyond. Nonetheless, I would like you to share your name. Yes, please introduce yourselves. You can type in the chat box or unmute. You can raise your hand so that you can call upon to unmute yourself and speak. Your name, your location, your pharmacy, and what you look forward to learning in today's session. So please type in the chat box or raise your hand so that you can be called upon. We'd like you to introduce yourselves, your name, the name of your pharmacy, your location, and what you look forward to learning in today's session. All right, while we wait for that, I guess I'll just call a few people who are part of the audience. Fam Ofo, Famuyoyo Ofo, I hope I got that right. Please share with us the name of your pharmacy, your location, and what you look forward to learning in today's session. After Oyo, we will have Ademolu.
Okay, good evening. Famuyo Yonwajagu is my name. Refuel Pharmacy, Benin City. Yeah. Well, I'm a business owner, so I'm just curious to know what you have to say about businesses. So I'm hoping for the best. Yes.
Great,
Thank
great.
you.
And the best you will get. Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Great. So who else would like to share with us their aspirations for today's webinar? Fam Umba Ajuluchukwu, Fam Edwin Ikechukwu would like to hear from you, where you're listening to us from and what you hope to learn from today's session.
Hello.
Hello, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Hello. I'm listening from Abuja.
Fantastic.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
You can hear me, so?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, I guess it has.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
If Edwin is unable to hear us, I guess someone else could introduce themselves. From Rosemary, from Abraham, from Rosemary, from Abraham. Please let us hear from you, where you're listening to us from and what you hope to learn from today's session. I know that in the registration, we had a number of people who registered from Benin, Hakka, Ibadan, Ilorin, and of course, Lagos. So I know that a number of us are represented here. I would like to hear from you where exactly you're listening to us from and what you hope to learn from today's session. Fam Ebiloma, are you there? Fam Onitilo, are you there? Please let's hear from you before we kickstart today's session. You can type in the chat box if you're more comfortable with that. However, we prefer that you speak up so we can hear you and hopefully see you too. Is anyone going to build the cask here? Famumba, from Ademolu, from Ofo, from Abraham. Please let's hear from you. Okay. Oh, okay. So family, sorry, I wants to speak. Okay. All right, sir.
Okay. Thanks for making this happen. And thanks to my pharmacy for sponsoring this. So I'm curious my expectation here is to understand how to navigate the difficult business environment in Nigeria, especially regulators on one end. By regulators, I mean NAFDAC, PCN, and the likes, as well as the tax and, how to navigate the difficult business environment, especially on the dimension of the regulators, FIRS, and all those other complex things that make it almost a deterrent to business owners to continue doing their business. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Fabo. Yes, sorry, Taiwo. Yes, indeed, regulation is a big part of doing business. And doing business is hard and irregular, right? But when you're on the wrong side of regulations or on the wrong side of regulatory bodies, then doing business can even be harder. And we hope that through today's session, our facilitator will be sharing key insights that will empower all of us as community pharmacy owners, managers, or community pharmacists, or just people who are interested in running business well, profitably, and sustainably, so that we all can do great at business. Our facilitator for today is, yes, a pharmacist, and he's an astute business person with years of experience in business marketing in particular. And the beautiful thing about it is the fact that he thrives in highly competitive business environments. And I guess that makes him worthy of speaking to us today because of today's critical topic. He's got an MBA from IE Business School, and he has worked in pharmaceuticals, in FMCG, and of course, in telecommunications industries. He has worked with top pharmaceutical companies like Roche, Servier, and Boehringer Ingelheim, amongst others. He previously worked as a marketing consultant with Garrison Group, where he developed brand strategies for Fan Milk West Africa. I'm sure we all know Fan Milk. Fan Milk, the yogurt company, right? Yes. Fan Milk West Africa, Auckland, Norway, and continent Portugal. In 2017, he served as the head of category for fast-moving consumer goods at Jumia Nigeria. We all know Jumia, right? Yes, that same Jumia. He worked as the head of category, fast-moving consumer goods. And there he blazed trails, of course. He initiated the Jumia Family Market, which delivered triple-digit growth for the company. He subsequently moved to Danone. Danone is a multi-local brand, foods and healthcare brand, basically. And there he served as head of marketing, and he contributed consistently to revenue growth in the company. He launched new brands in the West African region, and in fact, he received awards for his tremendous work there, including the Gold Prize for Innovation to Power Growth. He's currently a regional marketing manager at Airtel Nigeria. Yes, many of us use Airtel, right? Yes, he is currently a regional marketing manager at Airtel, and there he's contributing his expertise in driving growth also at Airtel. It's therefore with sincere pleasure that we welcome Fam Olawale Adeniyi, who will be sharing from his wealth of experience and expertise so that all of us who are operating in the pharma space will be able to do better at our work and we will be able to run our businesses profitably and of course sustainably. Thank you very much, Fam Adeni, for making time out for us today. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Taiwo, for the introduction, and a big thank you to my pharmacy as well, and of course to the participants today. So I think it's important to mention that beyond the corporate experience I have, I also have a pharmacy, and some of the experiences I'll be sharing today is as a result of my ownership of a community pharmacy that runs in the middle of Ikeja here in Lagos. So again, thanks to my pharmacy for introducing this. Please let me know when you share, when you see my screen. Taiwo, thanks. I've heard some of the expectations for this meeting, and I also got some of the questions that you shared. So I'm hoping that maybe some of these questions can be addressed during the course of the presentation, and afterwards, hopefully we'll be able to address some of those questions that the presentation haven't addressed. So a caveat before I jump into the deck. Because I do understand that a lot of us are community pharmacy business owners and we do the basics. All pharmacies, of course, because of their mere existence, they have to do the basics of selling drugs, talking to customers. So what you won't be seeing in my deck today would be the normal everyday, day-to-day activities that 100% of community pharmacies in Nigeria do today. However, what you'll be seeing will be those things that I believe strongly can bring incremental sales, incremental profitability, and of course, sustainability to your businesses across, whichever part of the country that you belong to. So the topic as chosen by my pharmacy is building thriving businesses in a dysfunctional economy. So I will jump right into it. Please, if you have any question during the course of the presentation, I don't know how Tayo wants us to handle this, if we can take questions during the course of the presentation, or all questions will be taken at the end of the presentation. Tayo.
Okay, we could have the questions at the end of the session, but
okay.
To prevent people from forgetting their questions, if they have any, they could type in the chat box.
All right, that works for me. So please drop your questions in the chat box if you have any during the consult meeting. All right, so building thriving businesses in a dysfunctional economy in the country today. The first slide is the why and the impact of a dysfunctional economy. For me, I think I like to go back a year or say 18 months where we have COVID, and then we also have, if you go back all the way to 2015, we have mismanagement of our economy. For me, I would say those are the big things that have turned around our economy in Nigeria today to what it is. So what's been the impact of this? Because the why is very important. It's also very important to understand the impact. It's from these two understandings that we then can start thinking of, okay, what are the new things that we can do differently from other people, other pharmacies that can then help us to drive our businesses further. So the first one, that is the major impact of the dysfunctional economy that we find ourselves today in Nigeria, is reduced discretionary income. So people that have a little money banked before, you realize that money has reduced in terms of absolute number. Now, when you talk about the value of that money, it's reduced in absolutes. It has also reduced in value. So there's reduced value of money as well. The outcome of these two things is that, in places where there should be infrastructures in the country, the infrastructures don't go around. You have a number of people that are trying to get out of the country, speaking specifically about healthcare practitioners, doctors, pharmacists. So you realize that the number of pharmacists to thousands of Nigerians or to millions of Nigerians keeps going down. So now we have a situation where there are underserved communities in terms of healthcare practitioners. This for me is an opportunity area for community pharmacists because we are more present in our communities than these healthcare practitioners that are supposed to, serve these people. Now, speaking specifically to customers or to consumers in this case, people have started prioritizing their needs. So there is what we call mindset change on what's critical for survival. So you see people trying to decide between, should I buy bottled water or buy, pure water? Pure water is 20 naira, bottled water is 60 naira. So because I already have, reduced discretionary income, value of money has reduced, probably I will go for the pure water. So this is the mindset change on, making decisions on what's really critical for day-to-day survival of people generally in the country. And now, due to COVID, there has been increased focus on well-being and immunity. However, back in 2020, March, April, you realize that this focus was at its peak, right? Right now, the focus is not as much again. So there has to be a turnaround. How do we as a pharmacy or as business owners, how do we, change the focus such that, consumers can go back to that point where they have their well-being top of mind? Because the more you can bring this top of mind, the immunity, their well-being, the more profitable our business can be, because again, it's all about average revenue per customer, average profit per customers. Next slide. So because of this, right, it's really no longer business as usual. Things have changed. What we used to take for granted has changed. Consumers have less money than before. But the interesting thing about that, the ironic thing, is that they want more value for their money. So you want, you're holding 50 naira, you want the value of 100 naira for that same 50 naira. So this is the mindset of consumers today. So what will really help us to deliver that value to customers, to consumers? What would make consumers, or what would make us as business owners, what would make our community pharmacy the choice of pharmacy for these consumers to come and spend that money that they want more value for? It's all about meaningful distinctiveness. So the more we can differentiate ourselves from other pharmacies, the greater the likelihood of getting that consumer to walk into our pharmacy every day to get what they need and get that value for money from us. So what you won't see here, I'm not going to have a tailor-made approach for everything, because I don't think there is a one-size-fits-all approach for community pharmacies. There are lots of different things that will be put into consideration before you can then decide on the direction you want to go as a community pharmacy to achieve this meaningful distinctiveness. So what you see more here that I will talk about will actually be pointers on, how can we think? How can we approach, the thinking behind, okay, how do I create this meaningful distinctiveness for my customers? So the next slide is about this. How do we create this meaningful distinctiveness and create more value for our businesses? The core objective here, again, what drives sustainable business, sustainable businesses in this case, is when you want more customers, more regular customers. So if you have 50 customers last month, you want 100 customers this month. You want month-on-month growth of customers. At the same time, you also want those customers that work in, that have been part of the business already, to have an increasing average basket size. So when I say basket size, I mean in terms of purchase. So the amount of purchase per customer, you want this to increase. So you have 50 customers last month, they are buying average of 1,000 per customer. This month, you want a situation where you have more customers, 50 moving to 100 as an example. And then you want them to buy, you've been buying 1,000 on the average last month. You want them to move from that 1,000 naira to 1,200. This is the objective. How do you achieve these objectives? The execution is when to have tailor-made solutions for different demography. So deep diving into that, one is young demography versus old demography. Now, you all know best the demography that your community pharmacy is situated. This is also the reason why no two branches, if you have maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 branches and above, no two branches in reality should be the same, should not have the same strategies. You see this more in action outside the country, especially looking at shops like ShopRite, for instance, in South Africa, where they have their high-end store that is not even named ShopRite at all, that cater to people, neighborhoods where you have high net worth individuals, and then ShopRite that is more of the mass market. When you go to Europe as well, you see situations where malls like ShopRite, using that same example, because they are present, the same name, the same brand, but because they are present in different neighborhoods, they have totally different strategies, totally different approaches to actually engaging their customers. So you need to start thinking of tailor-made solutions for different demography. When you have young demography versus old demography, this is one thing you can sit down and start looking at your environment to say, okay, do I attend to more young people, or do we have more old people that walk into the store on a regular basis? It's not enough to just think about who walks into the stores. You also need to start thinking of, okay, who exactly am I surrounded with? Maybe you have more old people around you. However, because of your current offerings, you only have the young guys that walk into your pharmacy. So there has to be a shift, a paradigm shift on how to ensure that these old people that make up the bulk of the people around you actually walk into your store. There is a residential versus business district approach. Are you in an environment where you have office workers that by 6, 7 p.m., they're closed for business, they've gone back to their different homes? Or do you have residential people that maybe between the hours of 9 to 12, you really don't have a lot of people walking into your stores, but from 2, 3 p.m. onwards, you have a lot of these guys walking in, sharing their different day-to-day problem. So this is also a consideration that you have to give to how you start offering meaningful distinctiveness for your pharmacy. Then the last one here for me is for tailor-made solutions, by the way, is on socioeconomic class. Are you in an area or in a neighborhood with a very high prevalence of high net worth individuals, rich people that can spend, say, 50,000 on supplements without blinking an eye? Or do you have more middle class people that will spend, they'll still spend some money, but there will be a lot of consideration, a lot of A versus B before they make their final decision? Or lower class people that's at every point, for them, it's all about value. Once you don't talk about value in whatever conversation you're having with them, it's more or less like a waste of time. They move on. So this is on tailor-made solutions for different demography. These are some of the things we can consider in terms of building the profile of the demography that we have around us. Yeah. Then the other point is on expansion of point of care testing or point of care services in this case. We've gone beyond the age of pharmacists telling their customers to go do malaria tests, or just maybe guessing that possibly it's malaria. There are situations today where the malaria, or what looks like malaria, what looks like infection, is actually a viral infection. So it's critical that part of what we do as community pharmacists should also involve expansion of point of care services. So people can walk in, either get some tests done, or they know that, okay, when they walk into your store, even if you don't offer those tests, you can direct them accordingly to where to go to get them done. Next slide. Now breaking this, again, this thoughts on demography down. I sort of focused on some of the key demographics that I mentioned earlier. The first one, older demography, we know who these people are in terms of profile, but one thing that is really common to them, for instance, is prevalence of chronic diseases. And most of them also have reduced mobility, compared to the guys that are still in their youthful age. So what are things that we can do? Medication therapy management, active medication, diet, care review. This has to be done actively. When I say actively, it means that we don't wait for them to walk into our stores to actually, ask if the medication is working for them, if they are sticking to the diet that we've proposed, if the care given to them suits them, if they are getting better on a day-to-day basis. They don't need to walk into the pharmacy. This is why we also have the customer relationship management tool. So we can call them, we can text them, we can WhatsApp them, whatever it is we need to do actively, so that those people in the older demography know that we really truly care about them. It's important that we start putting that into place right now. Medication refill schedule. A lot of the drugs that we sell today for chronic disease management comes in either weeks, 4 weeks, 28, or 30. So it's also important to note for every time we address this older demographic that if you can create a schedule for them, it offers them convenience. This convenience essentially is what makes your customers lifelong customers. It's what makes them loyal to your pharmacy. They know everything that they need to get from you, they can get from you. They know you are going to make it as convenient for them as possible. One thing that they also suffer from is sexual weakness. So there's importance in offering sexual health support to this older demographic, be it in the form of supplements, be it in the form of just advice on what to do, what not to do. This goes a long way, again, in making them loyal customers. Home testing service. Again, because of reduced mobility, a lot of these people also, they don't mind. I mean, they would love it when you actively tell them that, okay, rather than you come down to the pharmacy, I will send someone to come and run the malaria test for you, or to run the typhoid test for you, or whatever test that you offer, that you don't have to come to the pharmacy. Between the hours of say 9 and 12, we do it free of charge, but anything above 12, yeah, you're going to have to pay for it. Or if you are within the neighborhood, we do it free of charge. If you are far away, then you need to pay for transport of the guy that is coming down to see you. This offering convenience. When the person knows that, okay, all these things they can get from your pharmacy, trust me, they would change from where they were before, the pharmacies they used to go to yours without second thoughts. The last point here that one can start thinking about is also virtual or face-to-face review. Again, this has to be active because again, there's reduced mobility. You need to know what their preference is. If they don't mind virtual, I mean, if you don't mind face-to-face, because some of them, they see it as a form of exercise. They want to walk down to the pharmacy, get off some rust from their legs. And then some, they want to stay at home. They do their exercise within the compound. So they like the virtual review that you're offering them. So you call them up actively, ask them how they're doing, if they've missed any medication. The idea here is to be, the preferred pharmacy in the mind of your consumer. So going to the next slide on younger demography. The profile for these guys, they have active and busy lifestyles. Their focus is on general well-being. And of course, they want to stay in shape. I mean, a lot more these days. So you see a mindset shift, from people just eating anything they want to, right now focusing on how to stay in shape, how to stay fit, and this is much more common in the younger demography than in the older demography. So what are some of those things that we can do that can, make our pharmacy the choice area of visits for this demography? There is what we call power or trendy ingredients. Things like moringa, quinoa sesame, chia seeds. They are trendy because sometimes they are in fad, sometimes they're not. So when they are, you want to ensure that you actively propose to these younger generations that, okay, yeah, you have this, you have that, this is what it does. The health implication of eating things like this, black seed powder, black seed oil, antioxidants. So you want to propose this actively as well to them. Probiotics. It's also one of those core trendy things that the younger demography see as beneficial to them. Lastly is delivery service for convenience. One key thing about this demography is that they have a very active lifestyle and they're very busy. So if you can offer convenience, and for them, it's really the delivery services from the point of view of offering convenience, no more, no less. So if you offer this, it could be, okay, you are at work, I'll deliver between 4 and 5. I know you close for 5 p.m., so between 4 and 5, you get your delivery. Or you're at home, you get home between 6 and 7 p.m., so our delivery will be between 6 and 7. Place your order in the morning or 24 hours before, then we deliver to you. This really, really drives them and ensures that you get that that position in their mind of the go-to pharmacy for all their needs. Residential versus business district and the socioeconomic class. I put these two in the slide because not a lot in terms of different ideas, but it's in buckets of what you can do. Everything else is covered by the young versus old demography, but then some of the other things you can do in addition to that is, if you find yourself in a residential area versus business district, there has to be a difference or there has to be a different approach to the kind of product that you store, everyday products or medications if you're in the residential area, definitely anti-malaria and the likes. And then the additional things you need to put in place if you're in a business district would be, products for ergonomics, comfort at place of work, products that help with alertness, where if someone walks into your pharmacy at 1 p.m. during their lunch break, you can propose to them, because it's about mindset. Someone walks into your office at 1, 2 p.m. on a weekday from his office. Anything you say about, okay, how to make their jobs or their life easier at work, will make a much bigger impact than someone that walks into your place of work on a weekend, resting at home, the same 1 to 2 p.m. It will make a bigger impact to tell me about the fact that, okay, see, there is this back band that if you wear, it helps with your posture at work. So now that you're suffering from back pain, if you start wearing this now, you can be rest assured in 2 weeks, that back pain will go. It makes a bigger impact when you tell me just after I've left my seat at the office versus when you tell me the same thing after I've been playing, say, PS5 all day at home. Yeah. Then the socioeconomic class. For me, this is very critical because this is a place where a lot of pharmacists can play in terms of looking at what sort of brands to stock. And then if we are going to focus on absolute margin consideration or percentage margin contribution. And why? Because when you have high net worth individuals, we know that the more expensive the product is, the more the absolute margin you gain on this product, yeah? But then for lower class, there is a limit to how much branded product you can sell to them. So this then goes into ensuring you have, high quality products that are much cheaper than the branded products. So you're looking at generics, high quality generics essentially. But then this is where you have a lot of room to play in terms of margin, percentage contribution here in this case. If you are going to go for a lower generic, a generic that is much lower in cost, then you can tell the customer, or you're asking of the customer that, okay, rather than make my average, I don't know what your margins are, everybody knows, rather than make the average 30% margin on this particular generic, because it's much cheaper and I know it does its work, I'm going to make my margin 60%. So at the end of the day, the cost implication to the customer is low, but at the same time, the value contribution to the customer is really very high because the customer gets better in 3-4 days, but you've made your own margin much more in terms of percentage contribution than you would have made if you've sold branded products. So it's also something to really consider when you are making your decisions on how to create meaningful distinctiveness in the mind of the customer. On expansion of point of care services, here the key thing here is leveraging partnerships. And again, it's a second layer after the consideration of your demographic, actually, because today, for instance, you can offer community physiotherapist services by just working with community physiotherapists. The good thing is today now you have a lot of these people on Instagram, so you can maybe easily find the one that is closest to you, talk with them, have an arrangement with them on, say, offering sessions on a monthly basis to people around you, to the older, demography, or you could, what's the word now? Or you could refer people to them based on their current needs after you've given them the drugs that they need, yeah? So these are community physiotherapists. The same thing goes for doctors, actually. This is not just community physiotherapists. So we can manage, as a community pharmacy, we are more or less a primary healthcare outfit, right? So what this means essentially is that there is a limit to the complexity of the diseases that we can manage. So, and as a community pharmacist, part of what drives, or part of what highlights your brilliance, I would say, is that you need to know when it's a problem or a disease that you can manage, and when it is one that you can refer to. We can refer to doctors. Yeah. By making this differentiation, you don't also just want to refer your patients or your customers in this case. You just don't want to refer them and say, okay, you know what, you need to see a nephrologist. That's not enough. What would be best, what I think would be more valuable, is if you say, okay, in your case, based on the management that we've seen, or the outcome of the management that we've gotten so far, I think it's imperative for you to see cardiologists. I have three cardiologists I think, I would like to refer you to based on the one that is closest to you. Here they are. That kind of customer, after seeing the cardiologist, you can rest assured, we always want to come back to you because they know they will get the best advice from you. They also get to, they'll get the right contact from you, and they won't waste their time sitting in hospitals where they would sit for hours before they can see the right people. Because again, sometimes when you start going to tertiary hospitals, don't forget that you start from family care, and then from there you get to internal medicine before you then eventually see the specialists that you need to see. Some of that partnership that you can have is on with diagnostic equipment manufacturers. This is especially for diabetes, for diabetes especially, I think, and then for blood pressure as well. Sometimes Home Run, they do offer free blood pressure monitoring where they give you all the resources that you need. They give you the blood pressure monitor, they give you the person that will come down to actually do the monitoring as well. They do all of this for you. And then pharma companies for screening, vaccination, and then counseling across different disease areas, hepatitis, HIV, diabetes, eye test, even sometimes COVID. So what this means essentially is that for such pharma companies, you just need to actively seek them out. And then once you do that, you can have arrangements with them. They only need a location, a lot of them. So once you provide that location, they're happy to come down with their screening materials. And then you then need to invite your people to come in and get, everybody loves free screening. Everybody loves, potentially maybe free vaccination if you are offering for the first 5 people, for instance. Everybody loves this. You just need to have to be able to present it in a way that it seems really valuable to your customers. So I think it's very critical at this point that each and every one of us, business owners or managers, we really look inward, we look at our environment, and then we start actively change the approach that we have to our different pharmacies in the different locations. But it has to start from inwards, from an inward consideration first. You need to look at your environment. It's only after doing this that you can fashion out the best strategy for your pharmacy to make it a sustainable, thriving business. So how do we also drive, after the inward consideration, once we've decided on the strategy that we want to put in place, once we've decided, okay, we want to change our way of doing business, how do we drive behavioral changes for both our customers and our employees? For me, I think for every behavioral change that we want to establish, right? One critical aspect that people need to start considering is incentivization. This is really very important. So I will share a little story, and then after that, I would talk about some of the things that I think we can do as incentives to change the mindset of our customers and of our employees as well. So this for me is my favorite story of the sports season so far in this year. So I don't know if there are Formula One fans there. During the Belgian Grand Prix, most times during most Grand Prix, what you see as the outcome of that is you see plastic trash everywhere. You have employees that are dedicated to collecting trash afterwards. But especially during the Belgian Grand Prix, what happened was there was employees took almost more than 2 hours collecting trash in the rain after the Grand Prix, after the whole race has ended. And then Belgium is not so far from Amsterdam, from Holland, yeah? So very comparable in terms of, okay, maybe people would also expect the same thing to happen in Netherlands because the next race after that was in Netherlands. So environmentalists especially, they assumed that the same thing was going to happen. So what did they do to keep the entire track clean post-race? It was essentially incentives. So what they did first was, when you get in, to get into the track, you get a token. And then this same token, you exchange it for a plastic cup when you want to buy a drink, right? And when you go for your second drink, if you bring back your cup, you get another cup, fresh cup, and then you get your drink. But if you don't bring back your cup, you pay €1 for a new cup. Now, what then happened was that a lot of people, when they want to go back for the second drink, rather than just throw away the cup, they'll go back with the cup, return the cup, get a fresh cup and a fresh drink. The last point was, okay, what stops me from just dropping the cup after the whole race has ended? And here's the part that really impressed me the most. So they have a post-race competition. For you to qualify for that post-race competition, you don't need to do anything. You just need to return the last cup at the end of the race so you can get your token back. Or you just return your cup and say, you know what, I'm not drinking again. Let me have my token. So you use that token then to enter a post-race competition. So what happened was there was no trash at all after the Dutch Grand Prix. It was sometimes in, I think either this month or late last month, yeah? Nothing at all. So incentives are very, very powerful. And this is again where the consideration of our demography will go a long way in deciding the sort of incentive to build, the sort of incentive to use to drive, behavioral changes that will then drive that will make our business sustainable. What can those incentives be for us? One, we can start bundling healthy snacks / power ingredients for our customers. We can start offering discounts for buying before next refill date. So that means if you want to offer a discount before buying the next refill date, it means that you need to keep a record of the refill dates for all your customers with chronic diseases, right? then you actively offer them discounts, 5%, 10%, everybody loves a good discount. So we can start offering discounts. So what that means is that if you're offering discount, the likelihood of that person going to buy from another pharmacy that is more convenient, or that is just along the road, or that is just close to his or her office is very, very, very minimum. Then we can offer even more discounts for refilling quarterly or biannually. So most people refill for a month. Maybe you want them to, give you like a week's heads up so that they can refill for 3 months or 6 months. You can say, okay, you know what, Mr. ABC, we have an offer right now. If you buy 3 months worth of your antihypertensive drugs, we are knocking off 15%. So 2 things happen. One, the person gets the best price, gets a discount. Then that person for the next 3 months will not suffer from price increase. That happens every time that pharmacies go to buy drugs from their wholesalers these days. And then another thing we can offer to customers, lastly, is discounts for virtual orders. So if you want to change, the way of servicing your customers, for instance, one of the other things you could say, okay, you know what, I want to start, maybe you have a lot of people that work in, and then you feel you don't have the resources to actually expand your pharmacy, or you don't want to bring in more people. So to change the behavior, you could say, okay, for those that order for their drugs from the convenience of their home, apart from either we could say, okay, we do free deliveries between the hours of 6 to 9 p.m. or we give you 10-15% off if you place your order via WhatsApp, and then we deliver to you. So this another incentive that we can use to change the way people come to shop from us. Lastly, this is focused on employees and diary reports, is profit sharing. So I think today, like I said, I'm not talking about the basics that we all do. So I will assume that today we all have targets. And as part of that target, the way we can drive our employees, our direct reports, is not just about, okay, you get a 5% incentive after if this happens, but beyond that is also profit sharing, so that the pharmacists, the employees can also start focusing on how to add more value to the business beyond just talking to customers, driving them to do the right thing, so that eventually you hit your target, and at the same time you also hit not just your your revenue target, you also hit your profitability target. Those 2 things, they go hand in hand. There's no point selling at discounts if your revenue will increase but your profit will not. So this is the last slide for me. I don't have any other thing after this to say, but to maybe address some of the questions that have been raised. And then thank you very much for listening.
Great, thank you very much, Sarah, for the interesting session. I believe that the participants have their questions either penned down or are ready to ask their questions. But before we even go straight to questions, it would be great to hear from the participants the key points from them. So I see everyone in the chat box who has started.
Oh, too much now. I'll give you 3.
Oh, please mute yourself if you're not supposed to speak. Thank you. Great. So from Fire Williams wrote in the comment section, thanks to Mr. Danny for this very enlightening presentation. Great. From Uzor wrote, wow, thanks so much for this. Great, amazing, amazing. It would be great to hear from you participants what exactly resonated with you in today's session. And yes, if you have a question, this is a good time to also ask. So please type in the chat box or raise your hand so that it can be called upon to share what resonated with you in today's session. What key points have you been able to pick from the presentation? What key takeaways do you have, and do you look forward to implementing in your pharmacy going forward? Okay, yes, the recording will be made available to you. Yes. So I'd like to hear from you. What key points did you learn? What key takeaways do you have?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes. So we have Famabi Bolade back in here. She is the CEO of Advantage Health Africa. And Advantage Health Africa is the mother company of my pharmacy, my medicines, Advantage Pharmaceuticals, and a host of other companies. And it's such a pleasure to have our CEO here with us. Ma.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adeni. Thank you. We love that you brought your perspective as a pharmacist who has also gone out of the sector and has seen things that are working. I keep hearing incentives, incentives, incentives. I have a question for all participants. And first of all, I want to say a big thank you for joining into our sessions whenever we call you. I'd like to know which one of us is using this concept of incentives, either with your staff or with your clients, because I think this is where we can rub minds and create new knowledge in situ. So there might be one or two pharmacies that are already practicing, some of what Mr. Denny has shared today. We'd like to hear from you. So please, apart from questions, do you have anyone who's already using incentives from a different angle and would like to share the results or outcomes? Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. So would anyone like to share mechanisms for incentives in their pharmacy? Fire Williams, you have the floor, Ma.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thanks to Abimbola Adebaki of Advantage Health for bringing this to us. It's been awesome. Pharmacist Kola Wole Adeniyi. It's great to see pharmacists excel in other areas like the telecoms and the FMCGs. That's wonderful. My first comment would be to quickly say that I have been using incentives in the public-private partnership for over 13 years now. So this helps to do two things. Number one, it gives the employees a sense of belonging. So we've had a very low turnover rate. They have something to look forward to at the end of the year. But having listened to pharmacist Adeniyi now, I think we could also look at how to maybe make it biannual, so that it's not just, almighty December kind of incentive. Seeing that organizations have management accounts every month, you are able to know whether you made a profit or loss, and we look at the cumulative and then we declare a percentage. So we may not, we have been doing yearly, but now I think biannually would even give staff more reason to really work hard and look forward to something, and they would feel a greater sense of belonging. So that's in response to Pharmacist Adebaki's question. And the second thing I was going to say is that what impacted me the most was that COVID came with a lot of challenges, but it also brought in a lot of opportunities. If you had told somebody earlier, like 2019, let me do a virtual session with you, they'll say, no, I don't have time for that. When I'm ready, I'll come to your pharmacy. But because the social distancing and online presence has taught us so much, people are more ready to use this platform to solve various issues. So thank you once again, Pharmacist Adeni. You made us think outside the box. You made us use the benefits of COVID, and better enlightenment. Everybody wants knowledge. Everybody wants well-being. So if we are able to apply those to what we do now, then the pharmacy business would definitely get better. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful contribution there, Ma. Thank you very much. All right, I see that from Kola Wole Adeoluwa typed in the comment section what resonated more was that of the incentives, a different perspective. I'm a bit curious on its workability as it does really look nice. Yes, I don't know if someone else would like to share their experience on the implementation of incentives in their pharmacy so that we can get other opinions on it. You can type in the chat box or raise your hand so you can be called upon. Yes, you will have access to the replay. I don't know if Kola Ole Adeni would be kind enough to share his slides. If he does share his slides, you will get the slides. Yes. So we want more responses from you. Please type in the chat box your key takeaways from today's session, as well as your questions, if you have any. And you could also raise your hand so you can be called upon. Anyone? All right, so one of the questions we got at the beginning of the session was that of a regulatory framework, the fact that regulations actually affect, to a large extent, the profitability and sustainability of businesses. So how do we as community pharmacy owners manage that as we go on to build thriving businesses in this landscape?
Okay. So thank you very much, Fire Williams and Pharmacist Adebaki. Thank you so much. And also, of course, the questions that we've asked during the course of the presentation. Regarding the business environment and how a pharmacy can navigate that, I think firstly, it's important for me to mention the fact that pharmacies are not really meant to be taxed in the country. Again, I'm not the expert when it comes to regulation, right? So I'll share what I think. It's then, I mean, despite the fact that community pharmacies are not meant to be taxed, it's still very important for you to do your what's it called now? To do, the normal, to go through the normal process of, going to FIRS, submitting all your documents on a monthly basis. So this is very important, even though pharmacies are not meant to be taxed, yeah? For the other regulations like NAFDAC, PCN, I think one critical aspect of community pharmacy, one thing I've seen so far is that if you do things right, most times we don't get, bothered by NAFDAC especially, and also by PCN. So what this means for me, for instance, for NAFDAC is that we realize that a lot of times when we don't buy our drugs from accredited distributors, accredited wholesalers, when we buy from open markets where we are not really sure of the registration or of the status of the people we are buying from, we tend to, that's when most people really face the challenge of, being disturbed by NAFDAC and some other regulatory bodies. But when you buy from accredited distributors, again, speaking from my very limited experience in being a community pharmacy owner, less than 18 months now, I think there's a reduction in the amount of disturbance that you get from these regulatory bodies. On the incentives and the benefits, I hope I've been able to address that question before I go to the benefit of incentives and how to, get it done.
Yes, you have.
Okay, so on incentives, I think like Pharmacist Fire Williams said, it really helps to reduce churn rates of pharmacies, because today one of the critical aspect of the business is that there is a very high level of churn with community pharmacies. Someone works with you for 3 months, sees a better opportunity somewhere else, and then jumps ship. So having an incentive structure in place really helps to reduce this churn rate drastically. Also, the way to make it work is honestly full disclosure. Your pharmacists, your employees, they need to, I see situations where a lot of owners don't want to disclose how much they make on a monthly basis or on a daily basis or a weekly basis to their pharmacists or to their employees in this case. But having that full disclosure mindset goes a long way to make the incentive structure work, because again, you can see the trajectory. The pharmacists, the employees can see the trajectory, and they know what they need to do to deliver on the business promise. Without this, then they don't know where they stand. They don't want to hear from you that, okay, this is how much we're doing. They want to see it themselves. So it's critical that we have that full disclosure with our employees to really make the incentive structure work. Yes, I will share the presentation. I would very much love to. So I will be sharing with our pharmacist Taiwo immediately after this call ends.
All right, great. Thank you very much for your responses, sir. One of the questions we also got during the registration was a question on sustainability of pharmacies. The fact that at the inception, some pharmacies seem to do well. Some pharmacies seem to do well, but over a long time, they dwindle and are unable to keep up. So they don't last for so many years. What could be the cause of this? And how can we overcome this short stay of this short existence of pharmacies, so that we can have more pharmacies, especially in Nigeria, becoming transgenerational?
Okay, here I think impact is the key word, because this is not just a pharmacy problem, it's a Nigerian business environment problem, where you see that a lot of businesses are not sustainable from one generation to the other. So it's by having that clarity on what your impact is in your environment. Once you know what you stand for and what you want to push, it really helps, because it's the impact that then determines the kind of structure that you put in place. And what happens with most Nigerian businesses is that they don't put structure that is independent of them in place. And it's also the same thing for the community pharmacy, such that when the main pharmacist is unavailable, the pharmacy cannot run itself. So you see that pharmacy dying gradually. So when we build community pharmacies, we need to build with this. When we build businesses generally, not just community pharmacies, we need to build this. We need to have a mindset of putting a structure in place, a structure that allows you or that allows the pharmacy to operate independent of your availability. We need to put it in place. There are a number of things we can do to make this happen. One is by ensuring that people that work for us, they take full ownership. And part of the things that can make them take full ownership is also based on incentives and profit sharing. Of course, recruiting the right people every time that you do your recruitment. And of course, having a very clear, what we call, sorry, I'm trying to remember the right word. Maybe share of duty. I can't really remember the right term. So that there's full clarity on what happens when, say, the pharmacist, the owner of the business, is not there. What happens where the shop manager is not there, and then nobody gets shocked when any of these events come up. And I think really, generally speaking, as Nigerians, our businesses, from the point of view of creating businesses, once the moment you start thinking along this line of having the right structure in place, employing the right people, giving them full ownership, you will see situations where our businesses start being generational businesses.
Thank you very, very much, sir. I see that Fire Williams shared in the chat box her thoughts on tax payments by pharmacies. And she wrote, pharmacies are supposed to be VAT exempt, but they should pay CIT and education tax according to the recent Finance Act 2020. But they must make nil returns monthly. I don't know what NIL means. They should also pay payee to State Inland Revenue Board monthly. Thank you very much for sharing, Ma. Please keep your questions coming. Please keep your questions coming. From Alex, who wrote in the chat box, thanks for a great session, sir. The message of meaningful distinctiveness really made a lot of sense. Big thanks. I'm curious about how you made the switch successfully from the pharma space to the telecom space. Would you like to share, sir, Fab, Kalawali Adeni, how you were able to transit from pharma to CG and then to telecoms?
I'm not sure this is the right place to share that story, but I think essentially it's about really, looking inwards, thinking of the training that we as pharmacists we had in school. It makes us almost the jack of all trades. That training encompasses a lot of things, from clinical care to business decisions, a whole lot. So keeping this in mind, you then realize that, having being a pharmacist itself should not be the end goal. And for me, I think I realized this after 2 or 3 years of working with Roche and Boehringer Ingelheim, that I would love to do something different, something extra beyond, just going to hospitals and talking to doctors and healthcare practitioners to have a bigger impact. And hence, I looked for a way to transition out of pharmacy and to transition into FMCG. The core reason then, or the core way to do this at that point was to get an MBA. For some people, they did not have to get an MBA to get this done. They were able to get into FMCG companies, either as assistant brand managers or as sales officers. But for me, at that stage in my career, the only way I could get out was to get an MBA, and then really focused on getting to marketing post MBA. So that's the transition.
Great. So what challenges did you experience, saying that you didn't have that initial background in those fields? Yes. So what challenges did you have?
Again, the training we had in school really helped. So I finished from Ife, Obafemi Awolowo University. I think if I will, one of the toughest pharmacy schools in the world, or in the country rather. I mean, that really helped with being resilient. Yeah. So the first, I think the first shock I had post leaving the pharmacy industry when I was doing my MBA was actually, starting to think about finance, corporate finance, managerial accounting, and things like this. That were not anyway related to what I studied in school, or what I've the core subject that I've done back when I was in undergraduate. So having to do all of this really prepares you. So it was a tough 1 year for me, but the first 3 months was just that point where you try to then get to grasp of those new topics that you've not been exposed to initially. So immediately I got up to speed with managerial accounting, for instance, corporate finance, for instance. The rest was more or less easy, because again, working in Roche, working in Boehringer Ingelheim, these are multinationals that actually train you. So some of the things that I experienced in terms of marketing, in terms of strategy discussions, they were not new. So it was really very easy to get on board with that back in school. However, the two core challenges I had were in managerial accounting and corporate finance. But then 2-3 months down the line, I was at least maybe a little bit above average. Not as good as those guys that have been there all along, but I was able to survive for the rest of the year. So getting out of that, I mean, again, I was very focused. I knew what I wanted to do. I wasn't interested in going to corporate finance. I was just interested in strategy and marketing. So my electives were directed towards this. So I got into consulting, marketing consulting, and then worked mostly with FMCGs during my time there. And it was just, again, the more you do, the more you improve your core competency. And that's been the story all along till now.
Indeed, the more you do, the more you learn. Thank you very much, Sir, I see another great Ife in the chat box. Great Ife! All right. Thank you very much, Fam Fire Williams. Fam Nkechi Ukaiwe wrote in the chat box. Thank you very much for a great session, Fam Adeniyi. Would you like to share some replicable skills you learned working in corporate sector that can help improve our interactions and the way we do business in community pharmacy?
I am not sure I'm the best person to answer this. I think I would throw the question back to pharmacist Nkechi Kaiwe, but I mean, to give it a shot. So corporate teaches you to have excellent communicable skills. And I think if there is anything that community pharmacy needs to survive on, is communication, clarity of communication, verbal, non-verbal communication skills is very critical. Because you want to assure your customers that you are giving them the best. You need them to trust in what you are giving them at all times. And then you also need them to trust in you, that to fully trust in you, that they can come back at every point to get treated by you, or to seek advice from you. So your non-verbal and verbal communication skills have to be on point. As a pharmacist in the community pharmacy. Now, as a business owner, the transferable skills from corporate to being a business owner at community pharmacy will be really, attention to details. So I see that one of the core areas where a number of pharmacists are missing today is that attention to details. You can't get away with it in corporate. So in community pharmacy, the more attention to details you have, honestly, the better your community pharmacy runs. You can detect things before they become the skyball, before the snowball, rather. You can detect problems in real time. You don't have to wait for problems to become big problems before you detect this, because again, you've been focusing on the numbers, you've been looking at the trends. We look at trends a lot in corporates. I'm not sure, again, being a new community pharmacy owner, I'm not sure that my previous community pharmacy experience, there was really no situation where we were looking at trends to compare versus previous year or versus previous month, what changed, what's helped. So this focus on trends is a skill that goes from corporate to community pharmacy that really can go a long way to also help your business. I hope I answered. Yeah.
Amazing. Attention to details. Great. Thank you very, very much, sir, for answering all of our questions so far. If you still have questions, please do not hesitate to type in the chat box or raise your hand so you can be called upon. Thank you very much. Before we go on, I see that Abimbola Adebakin would like to say a few words to us.
Hello, everyone. Forgive me, I've just had to log in. Okay. So I just wanted to, latching on to the discussion we're having with Adeni. I'm sure some of you think he looks familiar. If you know myself and Olawale, then you've seen Olawale's brother. Kolawale Adeni is Olawale Adeni's brother, who worked with me extensively when we started Advantage Health Africa. He's touched on something so germane when he was talking about transferable skills. Talked about communication, non-verbal and verbal. And he also talked about, being able to study trends. And there's something that I had noticed on coming back into the industry to work in pharmacy and to set up Advantage Health Africa. And it was suboptimal use of technology for trends. Actually, it's if there's anything that I'm hoping that I can make impact in, it's in our ability to use technology much more than we currently use it in our community pharmacy practices. And I think that one of the things that it requires of us is really just to be open to, to use what is out there and available to us. I wanted to share a quick screen with you. Taiwo, can you make me a host? I've logged out from the one that you made a host earlier. So that I can quickly share it. Okay, great. Thank you. So I just wanted your quick feedback, everyone, before you all log out. Can you see my screen that is showing 3 columns? If you can, anybody can just let me know. Yes, you can.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to hear from you, just by typing in the chat box, if you had the choice of using software that gives you this starter plan, or this standard plan, or this enterprise plan, which one would you go for? And the question really is A, B, or C. A is starter plan, B is standard plan, and C is enterprise plan. I remember very early in my years as an analyst in Accenture, we worked with some banks to implement their banking software, whether it was Globus in Wema Bank or FlexCube or Finacle. And it was such a big deal for banks to make sure they had the right software. Before then, if you queued in Idumabu branch of First Bank, and somebody else queued in your name in the Ibadan branch of First Bank, both of you could walk to the counter, present the same name, the same amount of money in a check. If the man had 200,000 and both of you presented 180,000, 180,000, they would give you the cash and later on realize on reconciliation that, we've been overdrawn. It was so easy to defraud those banks. It was so easy for people to, get away with things. But now we know that that is not a thing happening anymore. I see many pharmacies tell me they have sleepless nights about fraud, about pilferage, about wastage, and about expiration in their pharmacies. So I am saying to pharmacies, there is a solution, and part of the solution is when we begin to use technology better. It will help with inventory management. It will help with control of our reward system. All these incentives we're talking about, many of it, we don't practice it. I think, and I might be wrong, but I think part of why we don't practice it is we carry a lot of it in our heads and we don't follow through to the end. If you want to do incentive-based systems, all staff should be able to quickly, immediately know where their position is on any day in the month. And to do that, you can simply impute it into your software solution. Tracking cost of goods, because too many of us are selling, but we're not seeing the money. We can't just see the money. You're selling your 100,000 every day, 200,000, 180,000, 150,000. People are coming, going, coming, going. End of the month, no money. Many of us are unable to track cost of goods sold and expenses. Some of us have the history of our sales in our head. So when you're not around, I just came back from having COVID. So I've been knocked out for 9 days. Just today is my first formal meeting with you in this manner. And I am just wondering what would have happened if I was running my business without controls and systems, without me having people who are deputizing and can make decisions when I'm not there. I feel very, very pained and very passionate about what I'm talking about. So I'm asking you, looking at the features in this software, starter plan, standard plan, or enterprise plan, which one will you go for? Forget about the money. Let's just talk about what you will go for that would enhance your sales, enhance you using all of the marketing strategies that you've learned today, that would help you to run a business that is not weighing heavily on your shoulders, And you can even go on a holiday and come back and know that while you were there, at the touch of a button, you could see things. I really hope that, you can see. Oh, everybody is picking C. Okay, thank you. A few people have picked, A. All right, so C seems to look good. Okay, someone has picked B and A. Please just let me know, because over the next few months, we're going to introduce Advantage Pharmacy Operating Software. And I really hope that pharmacies will pick it up and start to use it. And hopefully our experience in managing our pharmacies will be different. Thank you all for indulging me with these few minutes of even answering the question. God bless you. Thanks for participating in this session. Taiwo, over to you. If you haven't chosen one, please still do so in the chat room. We'd love to hear from you. This is just our way of getting information direct from the user's mouth. Okay. Taiwo, over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much, everyone, for responding to the survey questions, so to speak. Thank you very much for participating in the survey. And thank you so much, Kolawole Adeniyi, for sharing your thoughts with us so far. It has been a truly, truly insightful session. I believe that the participants have learned a lot that they will be taking back to their pharmacies to implement for better operations and, of course, for evident profitability and sustainability of their businesses. So as we round up, if there are no other questions, I would like Kolawole Adeniyi to share with us his closing words.
All right, Taiwo, thanks very much for managing the session quite well, and thanks a lot for making this possible. I think for me, it's always nice to come back home. I'm still a pharmacist at heart, so I like the fact that I'm doing something that is a bit impactful and much more than just being in corporate today. And I also like what my Advantage Healthcare is doing, which they've been doing for the past 4 years, if I remember correctly. So it's if there's any lasting word I would leave us with, is that we need to start focusing as pharmacists on creating impact where we find ourselves, rather than just being there for the profits or for the money. The impact is what helps us to do what is right at all times, and also helps us to run our businesses in a very sustainable manner. Because when you think about impact, you're not thinking about a one-off, you're thinking about a long-lasting impression. So we all should start thinking of how to create impact wherever it is we find ourselves, and in our community, because again, we serve the community first and foremost, before we serve ourselves. That's it from me. Thanks very much, Taiwo. Thanks everyone for being part of this.
Indeed, impact first. Thank you very much, Kolawole Adeniyi. We've thoroughly enjoyed today's session. So as we go on about our businesses, I'd like us to remember that my pharmacy continues to position herself as the resource center, the one-stop resource center for community pharmacies across Nigeria. And as you can see on the slide, you can see that our services cover pharma management solutions for community pharmacies across board, recruitment services, just like Famiwande Adekoya mentioned earlier, consultations, business consultations for community pharmacies, buying and selling of pharmacies. If you're unsure whether it's the right time for you to buy a pharmacy or sell your pharmacy, you can always reach out to us at any time so that we can put you through on the next best for your pharmacy. And we also offer customized trainings beyond the regular webinars. free and paid webinars. We also offer customized staff trainings for pharmacies, as well as access to partners and value-added services for community pharmacies in Nigeria. I will share in the chat box the numbers reach at any time. You can reach out to Yewande Adekoya. Yewande Adekoya is the operations manager of my pharmacy, Advantage Health Africa. I will also share my own phone number so that you can reach out to me if need be. You can also send us an email, info@mypharmacy.africa. We look forward to engaging with you subsequently. We look forward to helping you to prefer solutions to whatever challenges you may be experiencing in your pharmacy. And we look forward to truly partnering with you to build a profitable and sustainable pharmacy. Thank you very much, everyone. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend.